Happy New Year, you guys. This is officially the first video of 2024 for me, which is kind of exciting. I feel it. I feel the good energy. I feel like this year is going to be an adventure. I'm here for it, and I hope that this year is just filled with happiness and good health and fun and travel for you guys. I'm excited. I don't know, the New Year is just always so exciting. It's a chance to reflect on the year and think about what you want for the new year, and I don't know, I'm excited. One of the things that I realized that I did want for 2024 was to finally start a podcast, which is what this is. And I use the word podcast lightly. I'm not really sure if that's what this is for the moment. Maybe that's what it'll be in the future, but basically, if you guys followed along in December, I did Vlogmas, and even though it was like very mentally draining, like it was a lot to film every single day, I loved the more intimate and authentic style content. Like I loved showing more of my real life in Paris, and yeah, I don't know what you call that, like more intimate style content. And I also really loved connecting with you guys. Like it was so much fun to see your comments and to answer them, and I don't know, I really loved it. I was like, why only do that at Christmas? Like why not do that year round? So instead of doing like a daily vlog, I thought I could do more of a sit down podcasty style video where I could talk about, you know, like every Monday I was thinking I could do this video and talk about what happened during the week and like hot topics. And I was also thinking, let me know if you guys like this idea, but every Saturday on my Instagram story, I could also have like a little question box, and you guys could submit topics or questions and just things that we can talk about every single Monday. So yeah, that's what this video is. I've tried for so long, like so many times to start a podcast. I think I've tried 3 times with my sister to start a podcast, with my friends as well. It's just like very hard to coordinate when you have 2 or more people's schedules and like the editing and all that. So I was just like, if you want to do this, Arielle, just do it. You know, that should be my mental thought process for everything 24. If you want to do it, just go out there and do it. So yeah, I actually did make a list of everything that I thought I could talk about in this video of stuff that happened last week. Oh my goodness, the first thing on this list was my nightmare. Okay, it wasn't a nightmare, but like my not great New Year's Eve. I spent this year's New Year's Eve alone on my couch and insanely sick. I think, at least I was seeing on TikTok and stuff, there is this flu going around, and whatever it is, I had it. It was like this stomach, digestive tract flu where it was like not just the stomach flu, but also like pain and dizziness. And I like legitimately sat, like laid actually in my bed and on my couch for over a week, like 7-8 days, to the point where my body, like my legs were sore because I hadn't moved them in days. I don't think I went outside for really like over a week. And so it was sad because on New Year's Eve, Jean and I had plans with some of his friends who had actually like booked trains to travel to Paris and spend New Year's Eve with us. And I'm like, this is like, normally if I'm a little bit sick, normally no matter what, I will be there, but I was just so unwell that I was like, I actually cannot leave my house. So Jean obviously had to go because his friends literally booked trains to come here and see him and stuff. And also he should have a good night. Like what is he gonna do with me other than fall asleep on the couch? So yeah, I spent it alone watching this new series that I'm kind of into called Lupin on Netflix. It's like a crime detective mystery French show, and it's kind of corny, I'm not gonna lie. I think the plot is a little bit corny, but I do think like if you're looking for a show where you can practice your French or like listen to French and watch the subtitles and stuff, I think that's definitely a good show, because one thing I can say is that the dialogue is very much realistic. Like the way that they speak, the slang that they use is very much how French people talk to each other. I had a couple of my friends be like, this is so hard, like do you like friends in Canada who did like French immersion in Canada and stuff, be like, this is so hard, like I'm having a hard time understanding. Are you able to understand? I'm like, I am not surprised that people have a hard time understanding the French in the show, because it really is like the common language people speak and not really like textbook French. So I definitely recommend if you're looking for a show to practice your French. But yeah, that's how I spent my New Year's Eve all alone. Oh my god, the next topic I have on here is so funny. Jean's gonna kill me for talking about this. But this weekend, him and I went to the Puce de Saint-Ouen. It's like a big antique market style place. Like it's not really a garage sale where people like set up tables. It's really like stalls of antique shop owners who like are set up there permanently. And yeah, it's outdoors and indoors. It's just like a big antique space. And I like to go there because it's interesting to see the items, because it's also kind of like a museum. Like you could have paintings, you could have like guns from World War I, you could have, I don't know, just like, it's like a random, like furniture as well, really old school French furniture. It's very cool. It really is like going to a museum, but it's very pricey. It's sort of become like a tourist area. And yeah, I wouldn't call it like thrifting or secondhand shopping, because it really is like people who collect these interesting antiques and then like mark up the price for them. So I don't really go there to shop, but I like to go there just to see things. And one of the categories of things that Jean and I were just casually looking at were engagement rings, because like just generally, obviously, I think it's pretty obvious that Jean and I are interested in spending the rest of our lives together. And so eventually we will get married. And it's just interesting, I think, to look at engagement rings as well. And I've always told John, like, I don't want, like, I've never wanted a traditional engagement ring. I've never wanted a diamond ring. I've never wanted a ring that you can just go and buy at a store. I have always wanted a unique, antique, secondhand ring that has like a character and personality and is one of a kind and special. Like, that's just what I think in my head. Like, an engagement ring is just a special ring that, you know, symbolizes your union and stuff. So yeah, I've never wanted a classic ring. And so we're going through and we're looking at the rings in all these little boutique shops. And I find this one, I'll put a picture on the screen. It was this gorgeous purple, like it was like a purple gem with pearls on the outside of it, and it had a gold band and everything. And I just like fell in love. I was like, I love it. I mean, I obviously really like purple. I think I look good in purple. But yeah, it was just like, it was so beautiful. And Jean was so confused. He's like, I thought we were looking at engagement rings. Like, that is not an engagement ring to me. That is like, just like a big ring for your finger. I'm like, well, I want something unique. Like, I don't want like a classic ring. I've never wanted that. And we just like had this debate over what is an appropriate engagement ring and like what really isn't. And I was like shocked, because I don't know, I've never associated like a one rock on a gold band as like a mandatory engagement. I've never seen that for myself. Like, I've always wanted something a little bit more special, and not necessarily bigger. Like, my price range for my engagement ring is, I'm saying my price range, like, I'm saying that because like I personally don't want a lot of money to be spent on a ring for me, because I don't want to live life and be worried that it's gonna get stolen or damaged or that I'll lose it. Like, obviously those things would be bad, but it would be so much more stressful in my mind if I had a ring that was like, you know, over $1,000. I would be constantly worried about it. And I just don't like want that daily stress for the rest of my life. So I've never wanted an expensive ring. Like, it's really not about the price. And this ring, I think, the one that I'll show you guys on the screen, was 2,000 euros, which is like out of the price range that I want for my ring. Again, this is the Plus de Saint-Ouen, so everything is automatically like 3 or 4 times the price of what you could actually find it at like a secondhand store or like, you know, on a secondhand website. But yeah, I don't know, I loved it. And then I was like, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm like delusional in my thinking. So I asked my mom, I'm like, is this an appropriate engagement ring, or like, am I crazy? And she's like, it's definitely not an engagement ring. Like, I think she said the style of the ring is called a dinner ring. But she's like, if you like it and if it looks good, you feel comfortable, like, you know, there's no reason it can't be an engagement ring. But yeah, so I realized that maybe I am the only one thinking that these are appropriate style engagement rings. But yeah, you guys let me know what you think. And if you have any tips as well for secondhand engagement ring shopping, I would love to hear them, because eventually, like, we do want to look for engagement rings, but I'm like, I don't know the first thing about where to start for looking at, you know, vintage, secondhand, antique jewelry. Like, I don't even know if you can get, for example, like for me, I have kind of big fingers, I would say. Like, especially if you compare to like older rings where women had like smaller petite hands. And also I'm generally just bigger than most European, like the average European body type. So I'm like, can you even resize an antique ring? I don't know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about all that. Oh my gosh. Okay, the next one caused me like trauma and stress. And it didn't necessarily happen last week. It's something that I've been dealing with or like thinking about intensely for a couple weeks, like since Christmas and stuff. But it's like in the forefront of my mind because now I'm like, you know, getting help for it. But basically I decided to start taking my scoliosis more seriously. I don't know if this is, I don't know how widespread scoliosis is. I don't know how many people have scoliosis, but I've had scoliosis my whole life. Like I first was diagnosed with it when I was 13. I had x-rays at 13, at 18, and now at 28. So it's like interesting to see. Yeah, it's just interesting to see the progression or what your spine looks like when you have scoliosis at those ages. But the reason why I decided to go back and get more x-rays, like realistically you should be monitoring your scoliosis, but it's because I had just been in like so much back pain. Like I've always had back pain, but it seemed to be getting worse. And I was like, is my scoliosis getting worse and worse? Because scoliosis is measured by like the degree of curvature, and there is a point where it gets, at least in what I was reading, there's a point where it gets like bad, where you need to consider surgery and stuff. And so I feel like I'm not even telling the story properly, but yes, I do have a scoliosis, and it is a bad scoliosis. We don't know the exact degree yet. I have to go for another x-ray in a couple months because like the degree of curvature depends on like which vertebrae, I don't know. Like when you calculate an angle, it has to be done like from a certain vertebrae. And if one doctor does it from one angle and the other one does from another, like the angle, it just isn't accurate. So I ended up getting these x-rays. I took them to a spinal surgeon because the radiologist, like this is a problem too. People see my scoliosis and immediately like their face goes white, like they've seen a ghost, and they're like, oh my god, this is awful. And like it doesn't make me feel good because I'm like, well damn, if the doctor's telling me that I like have a serious problem here, like I don't know, it makes you feel so upset. But also seeing that image and knowing that's inside of your body is also upsetting because it's not something that you can fix. Like your spine is not something you can like do some yoga and fix. And so it's just like, it's hard to see that picture and know that's inside of me and know that's gonna be part of me for the rest of my life. And also accepting the fact that I will just like always be in pain. You can't remove scoliosis. You can't fix a scoliosis. You can only, you know, treat the pain and like find ways of reducing the pain. So anyways, everybody, like people, I've gone for massages, people who touch my back, like people who see me because I'm hunched over sometimes, people are just like, oh my gosh, like that's so bad, da, da, da. So I was just like really worried about my scoliosis. And so I took the x-rays to a surgeon in Paris, like a back surgeon. That's what the radiologist told me to do, is to go, you know, talk to a surgeon about it. And the surgeon was actually really reassuring. It was nice. He was like, you have bad scoliosis, like that's undeniable. You obviously have a curved back. And he was like, just me eyeing this without having a proper x-ray, like with the proper calculations, it looks like a 40-degree curve, which is not great. Like I think normally operation starts around like 50, 55 degrees. And when your spine is curved, it does like put pressure on the heart and the lungs and like vital organs. That does affect the lifespan of people with like very severe scoliosis. But he was like, do you want surgery? And I'm like, no, I don't want surgery. He's like, okay, well then we're not gonna do surgery. He's like, I only recommend surgery for people who have like seriously, really like life-threatening scoliosis, because the surgery itself is extremely dangerous. And it's not like 100% guaranteed fix. And as soon as he, like this surgeon who does surgery for a living was telling me how dangerous the surgery is, I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely don't want to be doing this. But he was like, you'll never fix it, obviously, like you cannot uncurve a curved spine, but you can definitely treat the pain with, it's not physiotherapy, I don't really know what the English word is, but it's like physical therapy with a kinesiologist, which is something that I really appreciate about living in a country like France. Is I've done a couple kinesiotherapy sessions, and a good chunk of it is covered by the healthcare system, a good chunk of it is covered by insurance. So typically I won't pay more than 10 or 20 euros for a session, which is really good because I know when I was a kid and I was doing physiotherapy in Canada, it was like very, very expensive, like hundreds of dollars level expensive. And so, yeah, I appreciate that that kind of like healthcare service is available in France. So yeah, I've been going to the kinesiotherapist. He's a kinesiologist, but like doing the therapy with him. And it's great. Like he'll do a little massage on where the, like there's one main point of pain for the scoliosis, and he'll work on exercises with me that I can do at home and stuff. So yeah, that's been really good. But it was like when I first saw the radiologist, it was over Christmas, and her reaction, and like in combination with the picture of my sign, was just so upsetting to me. It was like, she was like, she'd never seen anything so bad in her life. And like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there's any radiologists or nurses or doctors out there, but like, it obviously was not as bad as she gave the impression of, like after I talked to the surgeon and stuff, but it just like made me feel so, like I cried for 2 or 3 days after. I cried. I was like, because it's just so upsetting because you can't fix it. And it's like, you know, she's already talking about surgery and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like, then I'm like Googling the surgery. I'm Googling that. It's just like, you go down this rabbit hole of like, you know, so yeah, I don't know. I thought that it's like, I thought it'd be interesting to share if there's anyone else out there who struggles with scoliosis. I was really concerned about it, but you know, after speaking with the kinesiologist, mine is like very into like modern research. He's always like staying up to date and going to conferences and stuff. Like both him and the surgeon were very reassuring to me that it was like, this is not the end of the world. So yeah, that felt really good. And do I have anything else on my list? Yeah, I think the last thing I want to talk about is maybe not the most exciting. I mean, it's exciting for me and it's consuming a large part of my time in life at this moment. But a couple months ago, I had a magazine reach out to me. They're called Bonjour Paris. I think it's like an online magazine. And they were interested in having me on as a guest speaker for this like online webinar conference thing they do. I think it's every single week. They have speakers who are like authors or chefs or food critics who come on and speak about a topic that's relevant to like French culture, history, or food and stuff like that. And I was so surprised that they reached out because I think if you look at the list, like I went on the website and I looked at the list of speakers, I was like, oh, I'm definitely on the younger side. And if you look at my profession, which you could say is like YouTuber, and you compare that to like famous chef or world-known food critic, I'm like, this is maybe a little bit out of my league. But I was honored that they wanted me to give a webinar. They had watched a couple of my videos on the arrondissements. They were like, we would love it if you gave, you know, like a webinar on the history or like a walking tour of one of the arrondissements. And I was like, absolutely, like the history of Paris is my passion. And so I'm gonna be giving a webinar on January 17th on the 8th arrondissement of Paris. It's like an hour-long webinar, like a live webinar, and it's free for people who are already members of Bonjour Paris. I would love to know if any of you guys are members of that. And if you're not a member, it's 10 euros to buy a ticket. I will leave the link down below. But yeah, I have been going hard preparing for this webinar. Just naturally, I have always been a very studious person. Like when I was in university doing my master's and stuff, I was in the front row, always like speaking with the professor, taking handwritten notes. You would not find me on my laptop or my phone. And I was just absorbing all the information. Like I love to learn. And I think because I spent so much time in school, like I did a really long undergrad degree that was like 5 years, and then I did my master's degree. Like I don't know, like academic, I don't know how you say this, but like thinking and working in the classically academic way has always been the way that I work. And so when I do the arrondissement videos, for example, I am reading and fact checking everything. I'm like, people need to know the history from A to Z. I'm like, if I'm asking myself this question, then I need to have the answer to it so that I can also answer that question with other people. Like, I don't like to give half-assed information. I like to give like the full story from A to Z. And so especially for this webinar, because it's an hour long, like I'm talking and giving a presentation for an hour, and then there's also questions. So I'm like, I need to be on it. And so I'm currently reading 2 more books on the history of Paris and the 8th arrondissement specifically, and they're in French. So it's like, it does take me a little bit more time to read French, especially when it's like academic language. I do have to Google words very often. So yeah, for the past 2 weeks, I have been reading nonstop about the history of Paris and preparing my presentation and stuff. And I think it's just very exciting because, like I was saying, I really do enjoy doing this like more intimate content, but I also love history. I love the city of Paris, and I love being able to share that story with people. So I'm very excited to be doing this webinar, and if it goes well, I'm excited to maybe do more arrondissements. But yeah, I would honestly love to know if you guys are members of Bonjour Paris. They said most of their audience and yeah, members are largely from the United States and people who are like very interested in France and Paris. So yeah, let me know down below. But yeah, I think that's all. I think that's all for today's video. Oh my gosh, yeah, actually there was one more topic I want to talk about. I'm like looking, okay, I've talked for almost 30 minutes, but I did want to also talk about New Year's resolutions. I want to talk about mine, but then I also want to talk, like I really want to know what yours are down below in the comments, because this year for some reason I'm not feeling super inspired about New Year's resolutions. I don't know. I think last year I made so many and it was just like very hard to keep them all. And I also think that when you're making New Year's resolutions, they're like limited to like the first week of the year, when I think just, you know, the way that life flows, things change, things happen, you want new and different things, or you think of new things. And so I don't really like limiting myself to like goals that I set in the first week of the year. But I was thinking about like, what are 2 actual goals for myself? Like, what are things that I have wanted to fix for like a very long time? And the first one, which maybe is boring because I feel like a lot of people have this one, but I really do want to go back to my original weight at the start of 2023. Like I want to lose a little bit of weight. And it has nothing to do with, I don't know, it has nothing to do with like wanting to be skinnier or wanting to achieve a beauty standard. I mentioned this to you guys before, but like last year I was so sick for so long. I had really bad problems with my lungs caused from my old apartment. I broke my finger. I had really extensive gum surgery. I had this finger that was infected. I had the stomach flu. Like in total last year, I was out of commission for 4 months. And what that means is like regularly, I am very athletic. I'm working out probably 3 or 4 times a week. I do basketball, boxing, and I also do like workout classes. But when I was injured or when I was really sick, I didn't do anything. And so, for example, like when I had my gum surgery, that was almost 30 days of me sitting at home, healing and resting. And I just wasn't, like, my fitness level dropped, and I could feel that I would walk and my heart would beat really fast and be like, oh my God, this is not normal to be out of breath when I'm walking. Like, that's just not normal. So the weight gain happened as a result of that. And for me, that is a weight gain due to like a poor lifestyle. Like, I don't mean, like, generally I eat pretty healthy, I'm very active, but like those months where I wasn't active and I wasn't moving my body regularly, like that I would consider as not healthy. And so I just really want to reverse the toll that all those sicknesses and like injuries took on my body. So that's a really big one. And like, I don't have like a number of pounds or whatever that I want to lose. It's really not about that. I want to just be able to fit into the clothes that I wore at the start of 2023. Like specifically I'm thinking of like skirts and dresses, and it makes me so sad because I love them, they're so beautiful, but I'm like, I can't even zip them up anymore, and I would love to try to get back to that body style. The other resolution that I have for myself, which is something that I've thought about for over a year, I just like haven't acted on it, is I want to go back to school for nutrition. I don't really know what it's called, but I feel like just generally, I'm someone who loves to cook. Like I love to cook, but I never really learned what is a healthy diet. Like obviously we all know like fruits, vegetables, protein, all of that is important, but outside of just general statements like vegetables are healthy, I really want to know what vitamins, I'm saying vitamins, I don't even know the terminology. I want to know what a proper meal contains. Like I want to know in terms of carbs and proteins and like vitamins and minerals. Like again, I don't know the terminology, but I want to know what is a proper meal that we should be eating. And I think that learning that will give me more inspiration in cooking, because I'm limited. I would say my cooking is not limited, but my average cooking is really based around like 4 or 5 vegetables, because that's what I know how to cook, that's what I'm comfortable cooking, and that's what I know there's health benefits for. But I would love to learn about more foods and like other ways to eat that have health benefits, and just generally to learn what a healthy diet is. Again, this is independent from weight loss. This is really just like, you know, wanting to live a healthier, better lifestyle. And I think that starts obviously with exercise, but also with a good diet. So yeah, those are two, God, those sound like very much like weight lossy goals, but I promise you the nutrition one is like very independent from the weight loss goal. I've wanted to go back to school for nutrition for a very long time, and to like, this is what I'm saying, like I'm very academic. It's not gonna help me to watch a TikTok or to like read a blog post on nutrition. I wanna go back and I wanna learn the science of food. That's what I wanna learn. I wanna learn, and like again, I don't know why I'm like blabbering on about this, but it's really not about the weight loss side. It's about the fact that eating food happens for us 3 times a day, and it's mind-blowing to me that it's something so integral to our lives and like has such an impact on our overall health and well-being, but that we don't really, like typically the average person doesn't know, like, why am I stuttering? I'm like nervous. Doesn't know the science behind food. Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not educated enough. But yeah, I want to go back to school for that. So yeah, those are my 2 main resolutions at this point. I do have some other resolutions that are like more like professional resolutions, which I don't want to tell you guys about because some of them are like kind of secret. They're not secret, but like until when it comes to my YouTube and like the vision I have for that, until I have things worked out in some way, I don't really want to talk about them, because then it's like, oh, I feel like I'm letting myself down. I feel like I'm letting you guys down. Like, yeah, I would just rather professionally things be set in stone before I speak about them. But yeah, those are my 2 resolutions for the moment. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your resolutions are. Like I said, I'm like lacking some inspiration, I think, so I would love to know what everybody is working on for this year. And yeah, thank you guys. I am like out of breath. My mouth is dry. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was interesting. Again, this is just like a once a week kind of thing. Like I am obviously going to continue with my Alcohol Smalls, with my videos on Paris and everything, but yeah, I just wanted a space where I can be more intimate and authentic with you guys. So yeah, that is all. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you guys in the next one.